Hello everyone. Today we are baking some bread, and this bread, y'all, makes the best toast. You ready? Let's get started. So these are the ingredients that we're going to be using, and we're going to be making English muffin bread. So that taste that you have with an English muffin is actually going to be in bread form, in the loaf form, and it comes out so good. Now this is a King Arthur flour recipe, and it did not disappoint. So first what we're going to do is, I have 1 cup of milk. I'm using 2% milk, so you can use 2% or whole milk. And to my milk, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Now also to my milk and the vegetable oil, you also want to add 1/4 of a cup of water. Now once we have our 3 liquids together, our milk, our water, and our vegetable oil, you're going to go ahead and give it a stir just like I'm doing. And we're going to heat our liquids to 120 to 130 degrees, right up in there. I'm going to put mine in the microwave. I'm going to be heating them on 30-second increments until they become nice and hot. And I'm going to share with you the little test that you want to do. So I went on and I heated it. This took about 3 30-second increments. So after I've done that, go ahead and stir it again before we test it. Now if you don't have a thermometer to test the degree, another way you can test it is you're going to take your finger, stick it in real quick. If it's uncomfortably hot after a quick stick, then you know that you're right up in there in that 120 to 130 degree. Also, you want to make sure that you have a nice clean finger when you're doing that. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to work on our dry ingredients. Now our dry ingredients, now sometimes when it comes to baking bread from scratch, the recipe, you can kind of get off the rail. Things can kind of go off the rails a bit, especially when it comes time to measuring the flour. Now it's best to weigh your flour, but if you aren't able to weigh your flour, a really good way is to do exactly what I'm doing, and that's taking your time and doing scoopfuls of flour into your measuring cup. So that way you make sure that your flour is not getting packed into your measuring cup, and that will throw off your measure, and then that will throw off your recipe, as well as then you don't get the end product of your bread that you wanted to have. And we're going to be doing 3 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. Now if you are new to my channel, welcome in, and if you're a returner, welcome back. And I appreciate all your likes, your shares, your subscribes, your good vibe comments. I try to read them all and answer or comment to them all. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch and enjoy my videos. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I invite you to hit that subscribe button, become one of my awesome subscribers. Now once we have all of our flour measured in, we're also going to put in some baking soda, and we're going to be using 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. And that baking soda, in my opinion, really helps to give it that familiar taste that we associate with an English muffin. Now next we're going to put in some salt, and we're going to be putting in 1½ teaspoons of salt, and this is just regular table salt, not kosher salt. Also, in the description box below, I will have a list of all the ingredients you need to make this delicious English muffin bread. Next, we're going to put in some sugar, and we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of sugar. And the last of our ingredients is going to be our yeast, and this is the yeast that I'm using. You can also use the yeast that comes in the little foil packets as well. And we need 1 tablespoon of yeast. Now in the little packets, if you're using those, each little foil packet has 2 1/4 teaspoons typically of yeast per packet. And then, so if you're buying those packets of yeast, you just want to go ahead and measure out your tablespoon from those packets. Usually 1.5 packets should give you the 1 tablespoon that you need for the recipe. Now once I have all my dry ingredients in there, you want to make sure that you blend all the ingredients, all those dry ingredients together well. Into our dry ingredients, we're going to go ahead and add our liquid. Our liquid should still be at that nice between 120 and 130 degree temperature. And then I'm going to use my spatula. And so you want to go ahead, dump all of your wet ingredients in with your dry ingredients. We're going to use our spatula and go ahead and mix those 2 ingredients together just like that, and make sure that you do want to moisten everything. So you want to make sure that the flour starts to become well incorporated. we're going to get to a point where it's going to be a little firm. It's going to be harder for us to mix with the spatula. Once you get to that point, then you're going to want to switch from mixing with your spatula, that last like couple of bits of flour that's going to be in your bowl. We're going to go from mixing with our spatula to mixing with our hands. Once our dough looks like this and we've gathered up all the flour that's in the bottom, we're going to go ahead and take the dough and we're going to put it on our mixer. We're going to mix it for 1 minute on a medium to a medium high speed. Now, if you don't have a stand mixer, you can also use the paddle attachment to a hand mixer, or either you can mix by hand using your spatula, and you're going to be mixing it for about 2 to 3 minutes if you're mixing it by hand. On the stand mixer, we're going to just let it mix for about 1 minute. And that's just to really help to get all of the ingredients worked in together. It's also going to help to smooth out our dough as well. So once our dough is nice and smoothed out, we're going to take it off of our paddle, and then we're going to put it inside of our bread loaf pan. And this is what you want your dough to definitely look like at this point. It is soft, it's spongy, it feels really good in the hand. There are no dry patches of ingredients at all. And now it is ready for our bread loaf pan. I just cannot stop touching this dough. It feels so good. You know, when you have good dough and it feels good in your hand, you know that you're going to have some really great bread. Okay, so I have my bread loaf pan. What I did, this is an 8.5 by 4.5 pan. I've put some vegetable oil in it, and then I used some yellow cornmeal, and I sprinkled all throughout. So that's what the recipe calls for, because of course with the English muffins, how it has that little bit of that cornmeal on the bottom, and so our bread's going to have a little bit of that cornmeal on the bottom as well. And so I oiled and cornmealed all sides as well as the bottom of our pan. And then you see how I'm just kind of stretching it out. I'm just kind of making sure that our bread is in all corners, as well as you want to make sure that it's even as possible. So we're making sure that we have a nice even layer of dough in our pan. Now once we do this, we're going to take some plastic wrap, and with the plastic wrap, we're going to put some plastic wrap over top of our pan, and we're going to put it in a nice warm place. I'm going to put it in my oven. I'm going to let this rise in my oven. My oven's going to be turned off, and this is going to make sure that the bread's not going to be around any drafts or any cold air at all. And our bread is going to take about 45 minutes to an hour to rise. It's going to become double in size, and it's going to be barely peeking over the top of our bread pan. And this is what our rised bread looks like. It is barely peeked over the top of the bread pan. It has doubled in size. It is looking good. I'm going to go on. I have my oven on 400 degrees. Our bread is going to bake from 22 to 27 minutes in that 400 degree oven. Well, our bread has baked up nicely. It is out of the oven, y'all. I checked my bread at 20 minutes to see how it was looking, and it needed just a little bit more time, so I baked my bread for actually 21 minutes. This is what it's looking like, and it is smelling so good. I cannot wait to try it. And also, when you tap on your bread, you should hear a bit of a hollow sound. That's how you also know that your bread is baked through, if you don't have a thermometer to check it to that 190 degree internal temperature. And so you let it sit for about 5 minutes. After it sat and it just came out, you see how nicely that bread just popped out of the pan? So it's come out nicely. I'm going to let it cool a little bit more, and then we're going to go ahead and slice up our bread. Our bread has cooled off. I'm going to go ahead and slice this up a nice piece right here. It is slicing so good, and I'm using my nice serrated knife, which is actually my bread knife that I'm using. This is what it's looking like in the inside. Nice, baked through, looking good. It smells really good. This is what the other part of the bread is. This is going to make some really great breakfast toast. Now you can have it just like this with some butter on it and some jam, but I'm going to go ahead and put this piece in my toaster. I'm going to toast it up. And this is what it looks like once it's nice and toasted up. It has a beautiful texture. This is more of that jam and preserve and butter bread. This is not like sandwich bread or meant to be used like sandwich bread. It's more like that nice kind of hearty bread. And so I've got some nice butter that I've put on here. I'm going to put a little bit of my preserves. I've got some blueberry preserves. These blueberry preserves are so good. And so I'm going to put a little bit of this blueberry preserve on my toast as well. And I'm getting your bite ready because on my channel, I love to share the first bite with y'all. Go ahead and take your bite. Now I'm going to take my bite and see how we did. This came out so good, y'all. This will go great with some hot tea or a nice cup of coffee. I hope you give this recipe a try. I thank you for spending time with me today in my kitchen. If you like this video, don't forget to show it some love. Give it a thumbs up. Click share. Share this video with a friend or a family. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you can come back and visit me again in my kitchen. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.